Hi, this is your girl Annette, Miss Delaware Classic Universe, pageant coach, and pageant director. We are still in the middle of the Wear Your Crown Speaker Series for 2023. Now, this series is intended to empower women and girls into their purpose by hearing the stories and experiences of phenomenal queens sharing what they do it, why it's important, and how you can support them. Today we have none other than Monique Williams. How are you, Queen?
Hi, Queen. I'm doing great. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So, my name is Monique Williams. I am an independently licensed therapist. So, I'm a mental health therapist, and I provide individual therapy to high achieving professional Black women like myself and yourself, and the many others out there. I also provide couples therapy. I primarily work with the Black community because it's important to me to give back to our community. And I am the author of two, with a third coming out soon, awesome growth book journals. This is one. This is the Sisters Growth Book Journal, and it is focused on increasing emotional awareness and decreasing some of those not so great feelings associated with stress and life transitions and trauma and depression and anxiety, but also improving mood and learning new skills and coping skills that help us to feel better. Skills that often we get in a therapy space, but not everybody's going to make it to therapy. And that's okay. Everybody is entitled to make their choice, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve support. So this is a resource that can offer support whether in therapy or not. And there is also a children's version for children up to the age of about 12, 13. And then the adolescent version will be released in the next month or so.
This is so awesome. So, you guys, okay, I was just sharing that I have the journal. My sister Joan actually gave it to me as a gift. She was like, I knew you would love it. I knew this was, something you would be about. And I know you're going to love Monique. And I saw the journal and I was like, oh my God, the cover is absolutely beautiful. The quality of the book is phenomenal. So much so that I've been keeping notes like in a notebook. Now, I think I do need to go back and actually use the journal. I get a chance to go back and look at it versus having pieces here, pieces there on paper that I've decided to take notes on. But you definitely want to check out this journal. So, what made you get started on the journal?
So before I tell you why I get started, funny story, okay? You'll notice that the picture of the queen on this does not look like me, right? So she's a darker skin tone. She does have locks. The locks were an inspiration for me, right? But she's a darker complected woman, which was intentional. And you just reminded me, Miss Annette, when you said your sister's name, that the reason that she and I connected was because we were both at a dance class, both being in mental health and knowing how important it is to move your body and take care of yourself. And we were at an exercise dance class, and I saw her, and I was like, I feel like I just saw the real live version of like what I envisioned for the picture of this book. And I was like, I just have to take a picture with you in the book because I didn't even know you when I created this book, but I feel like I had you in mind, and now I met you, and all I see is the book. And that's how I met your sister.
That is awesome. She does have this really smooth
Yes.
skin, and it is beautiful, but it is due to scleroderma, which she is currently bringing awareness in and about as she continues her journey, which is another reason why she's always about health and wellness, especially in our community, and sharing what we're doing, what we're going through, so that we can encourage other people, so that we can give them a safe space to kind of share the same
Absolutely.
thing. So as she is sharing her journey, she is always finding phenomenal queens like yourself who are in the business of not only enhancing our community, but making sure we reach out to the women and girls who need the services that you actually authentically offer.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
To answer your question, so what made me write this? It's a bit of a backstory. So I've always been a planner. I've always been high achieving. I mean, I graduated high school with a timeline for what I thought my life was going to look like all the way up to the age 30. It was planned
Nice.
out. And I'm a believer And so my thought was the desires of my heart, this is what God has given me, and it's all gonna come true, right? The funny thing is everything that I wanted beyond my doctorate degree, which is to come, I've gotten, just not when or how I expected it. And it's no different with my business or the book. So I always said when I was younger, I was going to have a mental health practice, and I wanted it to be a practice that was kind of holistic and didn't just focus on one aspect. And then as I got older, I was like, I love writing. I think one day I'm going to write a book, but I thought I was going to write a chapter book. I also thought I was going to start my practice much later in life. I mean, I'm no baby, but I thought I was going to start it like maybe 10 years from now, right? But then the pandemic happened, and I was mother and wife and pregnant and working full time. And when everything shut down in March, I was 8 months pregnant. And there was this new scary thing killing people, and people were in the hospital dying, and I'm about to go into the hospital and have a baby. Anxiety kicked into high gear. And despite the fact that I treat anxiety every day, I did not recognize it in myself. Because for high achieving professionals, and especially for high achieving professional Black women, we often just take like those stressful and challenging times and we just kind of treat it like that's just a part of the day, that's just a part of life. We just push it to the side and we keep on moving, which is a message that we get in so many places that to us it has become a norm. We get that message in spiritual communities, we get it in educational environments, we get it in the professional environment, we get it in our families, we get it socially. We always get the message that working hard, and I don't mean hard like have integrity, do your best, but like going above and beyond to our detriment is supposed to be okay, and it's supposed to be a norm. The pandemic comes, and when the pandemic comes, I am a mom and a wife and working full time and pregnant. So I was working, doing clinical work. I was also working as a professor. And I was 8 months pregnant at the time that everything shut down in March. My baby was due in April. So there's this new thing that is literally killing people, and people are dying in hospitals. And I have to go into a hospital, and anxiety kicked into high gear, and I was just struggling. But even as a mental health professional, I didn't realize that that struggle at the time was anxiety. So my thinking was, if I'm struggling with anxiety and I couldn't even name it as a mental health professional who treats it with other people every day, then what does that look like for your everyday person who may or may not make it into a therapy space? And to each his and her own, you know, whatever works for that person. And then there's also the reality that there are resources that can get in the way of getting to therapy. So for whatever reason, sometimes people don't get into a therapy space to learn the skills to help them feel better, to understand what they're feeling, to understand where it comes from, to create the connections, to learn how to manage it and feel better. And so my goal was to create resources that would expand my reach, because realistically, a part of my self-care is taking care of me first. And I don't have the ability to work with everybody. But if I have a resource like this one, then anybody can get their hands on it and they can begin to work on feeling better, even if they don't have the time, the desire, the resources, the will to get into a therapy space.
Now, you guys, I have been carrying my book around. If I go get my queen bag, I've been, I've been carrying mine around for a minute. In addition to it being a phenomenal looking resource, it is actually a really helpful day by day journaling, or when you're ready to journal, your next page is sitting there waiting for you. So it's at your leisure when you're ready. It's not stressed, it's not timed, it's not a race. So you can do it in your downtime when you're sitting with your coffee, when you have a minute and you're like, oh, I want to watch a show, and your book is sitting on a coffee table. Say, let me do a page. I'm just going to do a section. Let me do a page while I'm sitting here before I watch television. It is such an awesome research. Like, I really do need to start writing in the book. But it is so pretty. And the fact that you have one for youth and you're about to do one for adolescents, I like want one of each. And no, I don't have any kids or any young people.
We
I'm
all
gonna use
have
it.
young people we can love on, even if we don't have
We
kids.
do. Exactly. I'm gonna meet somebody. I do have nieces and nephews who could
There you
probably, but
go.
most of them to have probably the one that I have at this point. But it is a phenomenal resource. So how did you come up with the design of the book?
So I have to give partial credit to my graphics team. So my website was developed by hbdstudios.com, and they also did all of the design work in the book. So I create the content, I develop the concept, I let my graphic designer, who's a part of HBD, know what it is that I'm going for. And then she does the work. She takes my input, she creates it, she comes back and we do draft and revision, and then we end up with the perfect product. So I can't take credit for that. I give the basics. This is what I want to go for. This is what I'm looking for. I want this complexion. I want natural hair. I want these kind of colors. I want it to be interactive, like that kind of thing. And then her name is Rachel. She's amazing. They have been with me since I started my practice in 2020. She takes the ball and she does the rest.
Yes, she must be like your spirit animal because when I tell you, when I saw the book, when Joan handed it to me, she was like, "I got this journal, and I thought you would like it." I was,
Mhm.
it is so pretty, and I started like flipping through the pages, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the quality of this book! I don't want to write in it." And she
They did
was
a
like,
great job.
they did an excellent job. Like, so in terms of having people who are in tune for your vision and understanding the quality, because you know how we get about quality of
Yeah.
things. It is a quality, beautiful resource. So how do we get it? How do we get it? How do we find out more? And if we want services for mental health, because you're also a counselor, right?
Yes, I'm a mental health therapist.
So, okay, before we get to the book, in terms of the services, so how did you get into mental health? Now, you said when you were growing up that you knew
Annette, can you
since
still
at
hear me?
birth.
Okay, here we go. I can hear
Yes.
you again. So yes, when I was young, I'm the youngest of three. And when I was young, I was always the friend that everybody went to for advice and support. And so my mom and dad raised me to believe that whatever it was I was going to do for a living, it needed to be something that not only paid the bills, but something I could find joy in. And so I spent a good amount of time in like junior high school and high school trying to figure out like, what do I want to do that I'm actually going to enjoy? And so at the time, I thought that I wanted to be a psychologist because my thought was I want to be a counselor. And I didn't know any other route than psychology back then. So I became a psych major. I went to North Carolina Central University, big love for the HBCUs. And I got my bachelor's in psychology as well as my bachelor's in social work because what I learned was that social work was a profession where you can get a degree. You're a professional. As soon as you get that degree, you can start working in your field immediately. And then there are different concentrations that allow you to go in so many different routes. Whereas psychology, you're kind of sort of pigeonholed. Love my psychologists, nothing against them, wonderful profession, but it just wasn't for me. So I went into clinical social work, and that's how I ended up in therapy. But for me, it was the combination of I'm going to be able to take care of myself and be independent and self sufficient. And I'm going to be able to actually enjoy what I'm doing and love the work that I'm doing at the same time. And so that's how I came into therapy. I started in social work, doing traditional social work. So, like child protective services, school social work, hospital based social work. And then I moved overseas and started doing more clinical based work. I lived in London, in the London area for almost 4 years, did clinical based work out there, came back and did some more clinical work here. Then I got into the university setting and started teaching in social work, which I loved. I fell in love with teaching, and I did that at another HBCU at Dell State. Um, and then the pandemic happened and I got laid off. And God said it's time. And I was like, I really don't feel ready, but you said it's time, so it's time. And that's how the practice was born.
All right. Congratulations. We are so happy that your practice and your journal were birthed out of the pandemic, as so many things have developed and grown out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was a scary slash amazing birthing for so many people. So how do
Absolutely.
we find you? How do we find you? What you're doing, the practice, the journal?
So I practice virtually, but I also attend different events monthly. And if anyone wants to know about the different events, they can always reach out or I'll post them on my social media. So I'm on Facebook under Strength Redefined, except Redefined is spelled with a Y, so RADEFYNED. My website is www, there it is, .strengthredefined.com. And you can get to both of the books through my website. The third book, of course, when it comes out, which will be in the next month or so, will also be accessible through my website. So everything is accessible through my website. Definitely the first place to go for individual counseling, for couples counseling, for blogs, for group work that's done in terms of prioritizing self-care beyond the surface, not the traditional mani-pedi type of self-care, which is great, but we also need to do emotional self-care and spiritual self-care and become aware of how we take care of ourselves both internally and externally. So the website is a great place to go for all of that. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Pretty much everywhere.
I gotta get you on TikTok. I didn't know. Oh, wait, let me follow you while I got you here. Are you on the TikTok too?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, see,
It's a
yes.
great way to connect with people.
Have you seen this? Look. Let's start at the website. Let's go back. Let's start at the website. I'm gonna need y'all to come and check out this entire page. Mind you, you definitely should take your time as you're checking out this page. First of all, look at all the love, like all this melanin that is on here
Yes.
popping. Natural hair looks like
Mm-hmm.
it is just giving. It is giving love. It is giving appreciation. It is giving so much. And these colors, like, hello, can we say peace and tranquility?
Yes, peace, tranquility, royalty. That describes our community.
Look, you have to get this book, you guys. And if you don't get the book, then you definitely should get it and bless someone else with the
Absolutely.
journal. It is definitely worth the read, worth the investment. And when I tell you a quality piece, like I should have had mine sitting here so I could show you all the creases in the book, but that there is absolutely nothing. There is absolutely nothing in it. But I definitely need. Oh, you have a mug?
We have all the things, but we haven't started selling those kinds of items yet.
Oh, see,
It's coming.
yes,
It's coming.
I need to go and revisit the page. So, you guys, the information is below. Please be sure to like, share, follow, support. Get your journal. Get a journal for your kids. Get in the habit of just taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It makes such a difference. Like
It
I'm
does.
working on getting back to taking 5 minutes. And it sounds like it's only 5 minutes, but taking intentional
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes to stop and sit makes a huge difference. I
It
didn't
does.
want to end up sitting for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, my body needed to sit for 20 minutes instead of
Yeah.
the 5.
Yeah.
So,
And when you're focusing on you, we spend so much more than 5-10 minutes focusing on everyone and everything else. 5 minutes for you is not a lot to ask.
yes. Oh my goodness. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your journal, your website, your vision for sisters and girls with the poppin' melanin. Yes.
Yeah.
It is such an honor to have you. I'm so super excited that my sister met you.
Thank you. I was so super excited to meet her. And if I can, I would like to leave whoever is listening with this. So, one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about creating the book was the letter in the beginning that goes to the readers and the letter at the end that goes to the reader. So, I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I just want to read this first paragraph so that people have an idea of sort of what that connection looks like between me and those who choose to get this resource. So, dear sis, queen, amazing woman that you are, I am so excited to experience this journey with you. As a Black woman, mother, wife, daughter, sister, professional, child of God, and the many other hats that I wear, I've learned how important it is to prioritize my self-care. In this growth book journal, we will work on taking your self-care to the next level, whatever that looks like for you. As a Black woman and as Black women, we often nurture, love, and support our spouses, significant others, children, siblings, friends, clients, patients, parents, and whomever else needs it. In doing so, we often push our needs to the bottom of the list. This behavior has unfortunately been ingrained in us and reinforced through family, societal messages, social settings, spiritual communities, professional environments, and in many other ways. We internalize the belief that we must be strong for everyone else, and this somehow means we're not allowed to prioritize ourselves. But sis, the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself and fill your cup up first, then you won't have what you need to pour into others. You are the priority. So if you take nothing else away from this, remember that you are the priority.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Absolutely.